Hey everyone, how are you? Okay, so I had a request, I think it was last week, from Krista over here on my like page, and she wanted to know, how do you know if you should buy organic fruits and vegetables or non-organic, and is there a difference between them, and kind of what's the rule of thumb? So I wanted to kind of break this down for you today based on the things that I have learned. I will tell you first and foremost that I do understand that organic fruits and vegetables can be, and I notice I said can be more expensive. And I'm going to kind of break this down into 5 different levels for you so that you understand that they can be, but they don't always have to be. So there is an order that you need to think of when it comes to your fruits and vegetables. I'm going to start with what is the best, like the best thing that you could do, the best way you could buy your fruits and veggies. The very best thing that you could do would be to buy fruits and vegetables that are locally grown near where you live and are organic. And what that means is they're grown somewhere by where you live, like in a maybe say 50-mile radius, even 100-mile radius of where you live. And they have that organic label on it. And the label just means that you know with 100% certainty that the farm that produces those fruits and veggies are following the correct procedures to make their crops all organic. So that is your best case scenario. Those are usually found locally and they have that stamp. However, I will tell you that most often your small town farmers do not take the time to get that organic stamp. So your second level of thinking of this in terms of how healthy it is things that are locally grown but are what we call conventional, which means they don't have that organic certification from the government. And the reason being is because that certification is expensive to get. So your local farmers that are growing these things most often don't want to spend the money to go get that certificate, or that, I don't know, it probably is a certificate, but that certified organic government stamp on their crops, because then that means that they have to offset the cost of that for what they charge you, and most of the local farmers don't want to mess with that. So I kind of consider even locally grown, whether it has that organic stamp or whether it doesn't, kind of the same, because most of those farmers are doing the same thing as the ones that have that organic stamp. They're just not spending the money to pay for it. And those are the ones that are most affordable. Anytime you can buy local, you're going to cut down on your costs, and there's a very good chance that those local crops are organic. And of course you can ask, if you go to a local farm, you can find out, or a farmer's market, you can ask them. And most of the time they're pretty honest with you, because they don't want any backlash if you find out later that they aren't doing what they said. They don't want that bad publicity. So most of them are pretty honest and tell you how they grow. And ask, that's your right. You're paying for it, so ask. So those are the top 2. Always start with local, okay? Whether it has the organic stamp or not, locally grown is always your best bet. The next layer, the third layer, would be things that are certified organic, but they are not locally grown. They're from other places, and I would call those like remote, meaning that they have to be flown in or trucked in from somewhere that isn't right in your general vicinity. This is most of the organic fruits and veggies that you find at the grocery store. Like when you go to the grocery store and they have the fruits and veggies out, this is your organic section. They've been shipped in or brought in from somewhere that's not local to where you live. Those, you can be rest assured, they don't have the herbicides and pesticides, they don't have all the chemicals on them, they're organic. But what happens with those ones that have to be flown in is, depending on where they came from, they may or may not have the same nutritional value depending on how long they've been sitting on that truck, or however that plane, or however it came in, or sitting on that store shelf. So that's why local is always better, because it's fresher, and when it's fresher, the fruit and veggies have more nutrients. But if you can't get those, if it's not grown near you, or you don't have that capability to get it local, the ones in the grocery store that say organic are your next best bet. Now, they're usually a little bit more costly than the local ones, so I'm going to give you in a minute, I'm going to give you tips on how do you know, like, which things should you buy organic and which shouldn't you, so just hold tight for that one. The fourth level of your fruits and veggies would be things that are your standard fruits and vegetables that are sold in the grocery store. They are not organic, and they are in the store, which means they've been brought in from somewhere else, sometimes within the United States, which is better Okay, you want to look for products that have been grown in the United States, because then at least that way it's a little bit closer than the ones that come from like Mexico or Chile or, you know, these other places. The farther away they come from, the less likely that they're going to be as fresh, which means then you're sacrificing nutrients. So think about, sometimes in the grocery store they'll have the signs that tell you where they're from. So pay attention to those signs. I used to never look at them until I truly understood this. Now I know that those are important. And then the last level, the very bottom, which I would encourage you to avoid, would be fruits and vegetables that are conventional, meaning they're not organic and they're coming from faraway places. They don't have, you know, any of those certifications, and these are the ones that you need to be careful of, the ones that have that soft, edible outside to them. If it's something like an avocado, a banana, something where you're peeling the outer covering off and it's not organic, then that's a better bet for you, because you can peel away anything that would have the chemicals on it. But something like berries, you know, something that like an apple where you're eating the skin, those I would try and go organic with. So when you're at the store, if you can't buy local, if you can't, you know, you're trying to choose, like you can't buy everything organic, your budget doesn't allow it, but you're trying to pick and choose. Things like my berries, I almost always buy those organic, but like an avocado is not as important because you're not eating that outside of the avocado, or a banana is not as important. You're not eating the outside of it. So pick and choose. Pineapple's another one. You're gonna cut all that off. So pick and choose if you have to, if your budget does not allow. The things that are softer, that are going to absorb those chemicals more, or they have the edible outer layer that you're going to eat, those are the ones that you do not want to buy if they are not certified organic. Finally, buy fruit and vegetable that's in season, because when you buy it in season, it's more likely to come from closer to you rather than farther away. Think about it. Like I live in the Midwest. When it's winter time here, you know, I have to buy my stuff, you know, it's not going to be local. We don't have farmers markets here, but I'm not going to buy something that is not in season in the southern states or where it's grown warmer, because then it's coming from an even farther place. So try and buy your fruits and vegetables that are in season, because that's more likely that it's coming from, you know, not such a great distance. Because you need to remember that the longer it sits in the store, on the truck, on the plane, whatever, the less nutrients it has. So you may think that you're getting all this nutritional value out of whatever it is you're eating, but you really may not be getting what it could have, because the longer it sits, the more that diminishes. And so another little tip for you is this is like a two-part tip. The one little tip is avoid fruit and vegetable substitutes. Like my kids always, we've had this discussion where we go to the store and you get down the chip aisle and they're like, oh, beet chips or veggie straws or whatever they are. And they say, Mom, I should get these. They have fruits and vegetables in it. No, because they don't really have fruits and vegetables in it. They might have like this much smidgen of something in it, but it's devoid of all the nutrients because it's a processed food. So avoid things that are processed, even if they say they have fruits and vegetables on them. You also have to watch things that have a lot of additives and sugar on it. So turn it over, look at it. Chances are if it's in a package, it's probably not worth you ingesting. For the most part, there's a very small amount of things that I would say is probably the opposite of that, but the bulk of the things that you see that are marketed as fruit and veggies, they're really not. And if you really look at the ingredients, you'll see that it's not. And anything that may be in there is not, it's all the good stuff has been taken out in the processing. And then the last thing is, you know, there are a very small marginal amount of things that you could use in substitute for fruits and vegetables if you're having trouble getting good quality organic or organic local fruits and vegetables. I actually just learned of a supplement that I am giving my kids now that, you know, I know that it is organic and it is something that I can give them year round when fruits and vegetables are not always available, but there's a very small amount of those things, so you've got to read your labels. As always, you can ask me if you're wondering about something. I'll almost always say, send me a message with a picture of whatever it is you want to know, and I'll help you break down the ingredients and help you understand if it's something that's good for you or not good for you. But I hope that this is helpful. I do thank Krista for, asking me to do this video, because I know this is something that can be very confusing and was confusing to me for a really, really long time. Just kind of always remember, in season is best. Local is best if you can get your hands on it. It may or may not have that organic stamp. If it's local and it doesn't have the organic stamp, still feel good about it. It just means that that farmer probably doesn't want to mess with all the extra cost that goes into getting that government stamp that says they're doing the right thing. Ask at your farmers markets how they grow. Ask if they're using herbicides and pesticides. That's your right as a consumer to ask. So ask those questions, they're important. And then, as always, if you do need to supplement, make sure you're using a good quality supplement, something that truly is what it says it is. And as always, I will help you with that. So I hope this helps. I'm just reading Lisa's, I only see one comment, and sometimes I don't see them all. So, yes, she says she has a small garden. I live for farmers markets, but like I said, in the Midwestern United States, we only have those in the summer months. So in the summer, I love to get all those fresh fruits and vegetables, from the local farmers market, and that's the best thing, I think, to do. But if it's wintertime or you live in an area where you don't have access to that, try and choose the things that are, the things you're eating, that skin, or they're not easy to clean, like even lettuce. That's a hard thing to always get really, really clean. Try and buy those things organic. Pick and choose, go down your grocery list. I don't buy everything organic because that's expensive, but you got to look at, what the food is, and if you're going to eat the skin or not eat the skin, and, where was it grown? I'm going to spend a little bit more money on something that I know was grown closer to home versus something that wasn't. So those are all things to consider. If you ever have any other questions, please feel free to let me know. I'm always here to help you in any way. And just know that, if you have a topic that you want me to cover at some point in time, just let me know. I'm happy to do that. So I hope you guys are all having a great day, and I will be talking to you soon.